Ever looked at those fancy smart home gadgets and thought, that's way too complicated for me? You know, like it's some kind of high-tech magic? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on all that. We're going to show you that building your own web-controlled smart home is actually way more doable than you might think. So think of this as your personal blueprint to get started.
All right, so here's our game plan. We've got a 6-part blueprint to walk you through. We'll start with the big idea, then we'll gather up all the essential parts. After that, we'll get them all wired up. And then, the fun part, we'll give it a brain with some code. Finally, we'll see how to control it all from your phone and even look at taking it to the next level. Let's do it.
So, what are we actually building here? Well, the project itself is beautifully simple. We're making a little model home where we can control 2 things, a light and a door. And the really cool part is that we'll have 2 ways to do it. Manually, with some good old-fashioned push buttons, and remotely, from literally any device with a web browser all over your home Wi-Fi.
Okay, any great project starts with getting the right gear together. You can't build anything without the parts, right? So, before we get our hands dirty, let's take a quick look at our shopping list, the key components for this whole smart home setup.
Here's our lineup, the 5 core building blocks we're going to be playing with. First up, we've got the brain of the operation, our ESP8266 microcontroller. Then we have the switch, which is a relay module for handling the heavy-duty power. Our robotic doorman is a servo motor. We've got some simple push buttons for when you want to do things manually, and of course, the light bulb we're actually going to control. Each one of these has a super specific job to do.
Let's kick things off with the absolute heart of our project, the Node MCU ESP8266. You can basically think of it as a tiny little computer. But its real superpower, the thing that makes this whole project possible, is that it has Wi-Fi built right in. That one feature is the magic key that lets our little house connect to the web.
Now, our little microcontroller brain is super smart, but it's not very strong. It can't handle the big voltage of a regular light bulb by itself. That's where this relay comes in. Just think of it like a heavy-duty light switch. Our little ESP8266 tells it what to do with a tiny, safe signal, and the relay does all the heavy lifting, safely turning that big 220-volt power on and off.
Next up, we have our servo motor. Now, this isn't just some motor that spins around and around. No, this thing allows for incredibly precise control. We can tell it to move to an exact position, say 0 degrees for closed and a perfect 90 degrees for open. It's basically our personal robotic doorman just waiting for our command.
All right, we've got all our parts laid out. Now it's time for the really fun part. Let's see how this all plugs together as we literally connect the brain to the body and build the physical structure of our smart home.
The wiring is actually pretty straightforward. We're just following 4 simple steps. We connect our relay, that's the light switch, to a specific spot on the brain, a pin we'll call D1. Then the servo's signal wire, that's our doorman, goes to pin D2. Then we add our manual buttons, connecting them to pins D5 and D6. And finally, we just give everything power. It's a really logical flow of commands from the brain out to each part.
So we've got a fully wired body now. But a body without a brain is, well, it's just a bunch of parts. To make this thing smart, we need to give it instructions. It's time to upload the code and really give our smart home its intelligence.
When you look at the code, the very first, most important part is getting our device online. This whole section right here, Wi-Fi configuration, is where we tell our little ESP8266 how to connect to the internet. I mean, without this, there's no remote control at all.
And you know what? Getting it online is super simple. You see these 2 lines? This is just where you type in your home's Wi-Fi network name, that's the SSID, and your password. That's it. It's the exact same thing you do when you connect a new phone or a laptop to your Wi-Fi. No big deal. Now, lines like these might look a little technical, but they're not. All we're doing is creating simple labels, or nicknames. We're just telling the code, hey, from now on, whenever I say relay pin, what I really mean is that physical connection at pin D1. It just makes the rest of the code way easier to read. We're giving our connections some friendly names.
Okay, now this is where the real web magic happens. This one line of code creates a special custom web address that only our device understands. So when the ESP8266 gets a request at its network address, followed by /light/on, it knows, aha, I need to run the code to turn the light on. We're basically creating our own little secret commands.
All right, the moment of truth. The hardware is all connected. The code is uploaded. The brain is alive, and it's on the network. Let's see the magic happen and finally control this thing right from a phone.
So all that code we just looked at, it doesn't just create logic. It actually creates a simple but super powerful little web page.
And this page, with its buttons for the light and the door, is being hosted directly by that tiny little ESP8266 chip sitting in our model home. How cool is that?
And using it is a piece of cake. It's a simple 3-step process. First, you just find the device's unique network address, its IP address. Think of it like a street address for your device on your home network. Second, you open up a web browser on your phone, your tablet, your computer, anything on the same Wi-Fi, and you just type in that address. And third, you tap to control. The web page loads up and boom, you have full command.
A web page is awesome, right? It works on anything. But what if you want something a little more polished? Something that feels more like a real app on your phone? Let's check out 2 really popular ways you can upgrade and move beyond the basic browser. You really have a choice here, and it all depends on what you want to do. On one side, you can use something like App Inventor to build a completely custom Android app from scratch. The big plus here is that it's all yours, and it only runs on your local network. No internet needed. On the other side, you've got platforms like Blink. This is way faster to set up, and it has a huge advantage. It lets you control your device from anywhere in the world, over the internet.
And there you have it. We have totally deconstructed the blueprint. We went from just a list of parts to wiring them all together, to breathing life into it with code, and finally, to controlling it right from the palm of your hand. We've laid out the entire foundation for you. So the only question left is, now that you have the blueprint, what amazing thing are you going to build first?